Hi everyone, this is Neil Writer, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. I have here a case of a patient who has to attend every 6 months or so to have both ears cleaned. And on this occasion it was their left ear that was the worst one out of the two. They suffer from chronic otitis externa. And otitis externa is an umbrella term given to an outer ear infection or inflammation. And the outer ear is made up of the ear canal itself, the outermost membrane of the eardrum. So the eardrum is in total consists of 3 membranes. The outermost membrane is made up of the same skin that lines the ear canal. You've got a middle membrane, which is made up of fibrous tissue, and then you've got the inner membrane, which is a mucosal membrane. So mucosal skin is similar to the skin that lines the inside of our nose, so it's secretory. And finally, the cartilage we have on the either side of our heads is called the pinna. So that's the outer ear. And when that either of those elements that consist of the outer ear infected or inflamed, the label given to it is otitis externa. The term otitis is, I believe, Latin for ear infection, and of course externa is the location, so the external, the outer ear. They have been prescribed some heavy dose corticosteroid cream for this, and they initially used to apply it using their little finger. And this has been prescribed by ENT, and on their last occasion, I recommended they just apply a thin veneer on the end of a cotton bud. Now, yes, we don't normally advise people to put cotton buds in the ears as it can push the wax further in, but it's going to be far more effective than using their finger, because with their finger they could quite easily graze and scratch the ear canal. It's still possible to do that with a cotton bud, of course, but if you've got a veneer around it, it's going to provide a safe buffer. And this patient was previously being assessed by an ENT colleague of mine, and they used to clean her ears out regularly, but because of the availability of my ENT colleague, they recommended the patient to come see myself instead. And fortunately and thankfully, the patient's been really happy every time they've come. Now, you may have noticed I'm using a Jobson horn, and the primary reason for that is this patient also suffers from unilateral left-sided tinnitus. So this is their left ear, and we're not sure of the underlying cause of it. They've had an MRI scan which came back clear. The reason why the patient underwent an MRI is if you suffer from unilateral tinnitus and it's like a daily occurrence that lasts more than 5 minutes at a time, or it's worse in one ear, or if you have asymmetrical hearing loss or unilateral hearing loss, so worse hearing in one ear than the other, or only a hearing loss in one ear, there's the potential that you may have a benign tumour called an acoustic neuroma, also known as a vestibular schwannoma. And that's essentially a non-cancerous soft tissue growth that originates on the balance nerve. Now, the 8th cranial nerve, also known as the audiovestibular nerve or the cochlear-vestibular nerve, consists of the auditory nerve, so the hearing nerve, and the balance nerve, so also known as the vestibular nerve, and they're intertwined. They're very close proximity to one another. And a vestibular schwannoma, or an acoustic neuroma, as is also known, it originates on the balance aspect of the 8th cranial nerve, and it can grow and expand and impinge on the auditory nerve, resulting in a typically, not always, but a high frequency hearing loss. And that's because the high frequency fibers that line the auditory nerve are more on the periphery, on the surface, so they're more exposed to the soft tissue growth. And that can also lead to tinnitus.